Hi everyone, this is Chris from Hidden Assets, and I'm doing a solo cast right now. Myself on the left playing Quetzal, and on the right we have Ryan, a local player from Seattle, and he is playing Because We Built It, that special Weyland identity we rarely see used, but he's got a love for Weyland, and why not? They have all sorts of fun toys. So one thing to say about is that Quetzal, Steven and I have been doing a lot of testing with Quetzal, and some interesting builds we've put together, one of which is this one. This is a sort of R&D style blitz deck that tends to get its mediums out, its maker's eyes, and try to dig as fast as possible. It's not as explosive as Steven's deck, which we'll see in a later video, but it has some real potential. And I like it a little bit more. I know Stephen would say the opposite, but I like it a little bit more because it's a little bit. It doesn't. It has a little bit more control over the game, and it's able to play a different sort of the normal sort of Netrunner, and not just sort of I think win from just stealing a game. I think, which is fine, but I tend to not like that. But here we go. Right off the bat, I was really lucky with R&D, and picked up a private security force. Then trashed a Melange, which could have been annoying later. Love that alt art Melange. It was recently a tournament, and Ryan and the crew here picked up a triple set, or a set of 3 rather. So sitting okay right now. What I'm thinking of is I really don't want Weyland to get its 1-2 scored, or its 2-1 rather, agenda scored, Hostile Takeover, which basically means that any ice on the board is going to become a potential archer, and I just want to keep that from happening if possible. Ryan is sitting on, I believe, like 7 credits at the moment. Yeah, about 7 credits, 6 now, about 7 now, and now he's getting his board established, and I still am just sitting there with a data sucker, which is okay. I think Quetzal is one of the runners who doesn't really mind sitting just with a data sucker and just running freely. Getting that blown up is not a huge deal. Playing a knight here because I think I'm looking to pressure HQ and also threaten that remote, because now Ryan can't effectively set up his scoring remote. Unfortunately, I can't do a whole lot to stop that government or that hostile takeover, and that definitely puts all the ice here makes it a lot more scary. Make a run on HQ, and Ryan reses a Caduceus. And when you're Quetzal, Caduceus is actually quite irritating. The first trace almost always is going to fire off, and I'm going to let it fire here, and he gets his money. And the second one, that's a trace 2 for the end of the run, and I'm just going to basically end the run here. There's no reason to fight it, I think. Maybe there was an argument to be made for keeping him from getting 3 more credits, but the way I saw it at this point is I've got 1 bad pub and 3 credits, which means that I could effectively get through that server if I wanted to knight over there and take a peek. But if I had paid through it, before I paid for the first subroutine, I would have had a bit of trouble getting back to a reasonable amount of credits. So I do decide to go for our HQ, get a sucker token, see what he's got. He's at Elizabeth Mills, but I've used my bad pub to get through the Caduceus, so I can't do that. It's okay. It's good to see Elizabeth Mills being played, and kudos for Ryan for getting some use out of her in this deck. So in my hand now, I've got a Corroder, I think another Knight, a Nerve Agent, which I just discarded. Same old thing, and I can't remember the last card. Ryan draws mandatorily a Jackson Howard for the turn, which is awesome for him, and he's going to install and use it. Yes. Gotta love that. Jackson always helping out. Finds a Melange, which is good for him. And at this point, I'm thinking that I'm not sure I need to go and trash Jackson. I'm pretty poor right now, so I hope that I can grab a Armitage code busting, maybe find one of those. I see an Akamatsu Mem chip. Oh, and I see Akamatsu Mem chip in my hand and a Plastic Carapace, which is good to know, good to have anyway. But this Weyland variant, I'm pretty sure doesn't run Scorch, but I could be wrong. So it's always good to just keep it in hand for a little while anyway to see what he's got. It's also discarding a Deja Vu. Also, a good idea to poke into HQ to see if he actually is running some Scorch or Sea Source, and if you see that, then it's an indication that you should definitely put down your Plascrete. So, yep. One of the things I really like about Quetzal, as far as runners go, is that they she tends to make the Corp play less ice. So all of their barriers are less effective in the early game, which makes her incredibly dangerous. I should probably at this moment be running a little bit more aggressively on R&D, getting him to res that ice. I'm a little bit scared about an archer, which I did see in his hand a bit earlier. So all right, Ryan installs over the knighted Caduceus, and I saw that he had discarded an agenda, but he's got Jackson, so no matter what happens, that works. So, all right, so he's going to use Jackson. Sometimes, I think that's right. So he's putting the Melange, a couple of their cards back into R&D. Sometimes people want to wait until the runner uses the click to run on Archives or on Jackson to use Jackson. I'm kind of like okay with the play of just using Jackson to free up that server, because you might as well. It's the only thing he's got right now. Weyland doesn't really have a asset shell game right now, and so obviously Ryan knows this. He's only a kind of like one remote server kind of Weyland player. So all right, so Ryan's got an ice wall on the front of that remote. That's not good for him, but I break it with my ability and go through, and he reses what is that? I forget what the ice is called. It's the one that you res it, you pay 2, it's a 0 strength, can take any form, can take either a Code Gate, Sentry, or Barrier, and he names Code Gate, I believe. It's not super important right now, it just makes me bounce. It's an end the run subroutine. I put out my Corroder, because why not? Having the extra Barrier Breaker is actually very good in Quetzal. Her ability effectively reads you can spend either 1 less credit on big ice, or you can just get through 1 ice extra free, so it's pretty good. I bounce off of a Quandary, and then I run into a Shadow off of HQ, and Shadow is going to get me a tag because I am out of credits effectively, and though it doesn't stop the run. Okay, there's a Melange. I'm pretty sure I have 1 credit left to trash that. Yep, the bad pub, and I'll take my tag and be on my way. So I'm a little worried right now that if he is playing Scorched, I should have probably played the Plascrete earlier. So it was a bit risky on my part. And we're sort of talking about this at the moment, saying like, well, I might be dead. He's got just enough. He could take a credit and then double Scorch me if he had it. So that would be quite the end to this game. But I think he's saying no. I don't, unfortunately, have that. I have Elizabeth Mills, though. So Ryan is going to advance and score Project Atlas, which was sitting behind that remote, safely behind that remote at the moment. And now he is up 3-2, and things are looking a little bit scary for me. I've been running on very low credits this entire time. So first thing I do, take a credit, parasite the Quandary, run R&D, see nothing, get another data sucker token, and last click I draw a card, and I get another same old thing. In this version of the deck I had 3 same old things, I believe, maybe 2. I took them out because I didn't have enough events to actually use them on. It was a pretty decent card. Like once or twice it got me a Maker's Eye, not in this game, but over its play testing, and it's been good, but not good enough, and so I think they just ultimately came out. On my turn, clicked up for credits, removed the tag. Didn't really want to play that game. He has Private Security Force, and or in the deck, so if he scores it, then I could be in a bit of trouble. Oh, at this point, I realized that I had proxies in my deck. They're not, none of them are in my hand, but we're gonna quickly take them out here in a bit. But what I had put in was a couple of Queen's Gambits just to hold the place for Dirty Laundries, none of which I've drawn yet, but they were all sitting in my other deck. So one of the great things about the living card game is you get all the cards when you buy them, but at the same time you only get 3 of them, so got to swap them out. Alright, we have an install and an advance in that remote. So far it's been very good for Ryan. He's gotten gotten his Project Atlas out of that remote. Now it's very likely he's going to get another agenda, unless I have a way to get through that, and I'm not sure I do at the moment. So what do you do when you see that? Go the other way. Go to R&D, and yep, I scored an Atlas off the top. And next card, what do I see? It looked like a SanSan City Grid to me, and that is not what I want to see. I do not want him scoring a 3-2 out of hand. That would be bad. He is pretty poor, however, so if he does go to score that agenda on the bottom or in that remote, I will pretty much have free reign on his R&D. So that's a tough call. I wouldn't do that personally. I'd probably reinforce that server and take some credits. Get rid of the ice wall. It's not doing anything. But I mean, Ryan is a much better Weyland player than I am, so I definitely would trust his moves here. It's also nice to see Shadow again. Really haven't seen that since I think that's just core set. And okay, now we've got a Private Security Force on his side, so I need to be worried about tag punishment now, or tags in general. And he is once again in the lead. So my play here has to be simply take some credits. I need to get set up. But I just go straight for it. Like nothing there. All right, take some credits maybe. That's what I would do right now. Looking back on it. Oh gosh. Yep. All right. Run, take some credits, and draw a card. Looks good. Oh, and Ryan is just peeked at a Hadrians Wall in front of R&D. That is definitely what I like to see as a runner, right in front of R&D when he has so few credits. So that's pretty solid. So he's got 5 credits. I'm at 3, and I get the bad pub each run, which is great. It's really good. At the moment, Ryan is looking for a way to capitalize on my poorness, and probably some cash. So there he goes, back in the cash, the hedge fund. It's always good. Old reliable hedge fund. So one thing that's kind of interesting to notice, and this is not characteristic of all Quetzal decks, is that I am playing 2 Corroder in the deck. A lot of people have been telling me to take one out. I'm also playing, what is that called? A Special Order. I'm playing 3 Special Orders in order to get my breakers, because I want to be able to run sort of kind of more like a criminal, like run when when it's all necessary. When I need the breaker, I'll put it down. The element of surprise then is, in my favor. And I know I might get some people saying, oh, maybe, you really should take one out, you don't need them all, but I found that in order to be effective as Quetzal, you need to get by barriers, and people are very likely to double up on barriers. Like, if that was, Ice Wall in that remote, I would just have the same amount of trouble getting through it if that was if I didn't have a corroder, if it was, than if it was what it is right now. So it's kind of a bummer when you hit 2 barriers. It's also nice to be able to go through 2 barriers in a turn, because Quetzal's ability only works on 1 barrier per turn. So, just showed my hand a little bit. I've got Hedge Fund, some same old things. I believe I have a demo run in my hand, which is fantastic in this deck when you're running a bunch of mediums and Nerve Agent. And let's see what Ryan's play is here. It looks like he installed the SanSan in that remote. He's getting ready to hopefully score a 3-2 out of hand. That's what my guess is. It looks like he's also holding a government contracts, which is a bit scary when your only ice in front of HQ is a shadow. So it's a pretty good bluff. He does not res the ice in front of or behind the ice wall, and I think that might have been a mistake. He lets me trash the SanSan, which I'm going to be more than happy to do. I had enough credits plus the bad pub, so effectively just cost me 4. It's also possible that he just did that to drain my economy a bit, and if that's the case, it's pretty solid. Oh man. Okay, so I make a run on R&D, and I hit Hadrians Wall. If I was Nacier, I'd be super happy right now, but unfortunately, I feel, like a normal runner. I don't get any bonus from that, so... but let's see, I have enough sucker tokens, and I've got enough money to get through it at least once. So go through it, pay the sucker tokens, I get one back. Strength 7, so it's looks like 5 sucker tokens and 2 money, bad pub and a money, and I do score a hostile takeover right off the top. That puts me on game point. Both of us are on game point. Now it's just a matter of finding that last agenda. And I run on HQ. Pretty solid play. I'm not really worried about the tag now. I feel that if I really need to, I have enough money to play the Plascrete. So this is last click. So it is a little scary, though. I wouldn't recommend doing this. Looking back now, I probably should have held off with that play. It's a little bit risky. If I had hit a snare, if he was playing snares, though, probably not when he's playing SanSans. It could have been awful for me. Alright, traces me. I take a tag. And I go through. What do we find? Oh, Cyberdex Trials is a great card, actually, and it's we had a great conversation about this, Ryan and I, and he loves the card. And I think it's a great card, too. It saves you your turn, effectively. Mainly the problem with including it in a deck, what it does actually wipes virus counters, but the problem is including it in a deck is so difficult because decks deck space is often very tight. You have to cut, an ice or economy, and that's just not often the most effective. Okay, so he hits me. I am tagged. He hits me with Private Security Force 3 times. I lose in my medium. I lose my Akamatsu, and I lose a Same Old Thing. I am not feeling very good about that. I better shrug that tag. So the first thing I do, shrug the tag. I gotta do that. That is pretty important right now. Draw a card. Find a special order, which is great. Special order right now gets me everywhere. Oh, and I draw my Mimic, which means I effectively have all my breakers at the ready. That is awesome. Now, from Ryan's side, he's got to be feeling a little bit tentative. He can't really put anything in that remote because he risks me actually simply... well, parasiting is a big problem. So if I ran through that ice wall for 1 bad pub free or for my ability, he'd have to res the next ice for 2, and then I could parasite it. He doesn't know I have Parasite, but he knows I am running 3 of them because, well, if you're playing Anarch, you should probably be running 3 of them. And so it takes money, and going to Hedge Fund? No, I'm just going to take some money and draw a card. 3 money and a card. And letting him know that I do have Same Old Thing out in case he wants to be aware of what's in my heap. He is sitting at a very low credits right now, though. That is a very difficult spot to be in. One of the problems I found with Weyland is that they have some really cheap ice, some really powerful ice too, and powerful abilities, but they have some of the worst economy when you're not playing the core set Weyland. It's like getting that extra credit does actually matter over the long term. So he's going to take a couple credits, advance that Hadrians Wall, and so he does not want me getting in there. He knows he's trying to. I think this is a really good play. He's trying to bait me into thinking that all the agendas are in R&D, when in fact he's holding one. He's holding a 5/3. I almost think that he should have taken a credit, or taken 2 credits, and then next turn installed it behind his remote server, and it's very likely then he would have been able to have 2 turns to get it out. Alright, Quandary. Quandary's no big deal. I have a way in. If I get enough credits, I will be able to special order. My Code Gatebreaker in this deck is a Yogg, just a single Yogg, which is I've been thinking about upgrading to or putting in a second one and taking out 1 Corroder. That's one of the options. I have 2 Mimics, 3 Knights, 2 Corroders, and 1 Yogg currently, which is a pretty good suite. This version of the deck had 2 Data Suckers. I'd since gone up to 3. It was just so effective in this deck with all the fixed breakers. I couldn't justify having only 2. Ryan installs a piece of ice in front of HQ, which is a great move here. Obviously, the Shadow's not doing very much. It's not keeping me out. He needs to be aware that I can get into HQ for a credit effectively without taking a tag, which is great. Needs to do something about the remote, though. I think he's having trouble finding better ice. And that is a problem. Like, where's his archer? That's one of the things I'm worried about. Where's the archer? Did he just put an archer down? It could be there. If it is, I could still get through it for 4 credits. So he needs to be worried about that. 4 credits and 3 sucker tokens. Or just 3 credits if I wanted to give him some money. And he installs ice over archives. It's a pretty good play here. Now I'm contemplating where to go now. I obviously can't run that remote, there's nothing there. I hit another special order, which is fine. I don't need it, but having the extra one, the redundancy does help in games where you don't draw your breakers. I just drew an Order of Saul, which is an awesome addition in this deck, and I highly advise people who are playing poor Anarchs to try it out. I've been playing it in Nacier, and it's great in Nacier, but it's fantastic in a poor Anarch, aggressive Anarch build, because it effectively is a credit a turn, and it also can trigger on your opponent's turn if you creatively sort of order the way you play things. So if you go down to 0 credits on your first click by playing something, trigger Order of Saul, and then play something, take some money and then play something else, going down to 0, you'll gain another credit on the opponent's turn, so it effectively smooths out your the quickness of your plays, makes your installation a lot better, a lot smoother. It's a pretty cool card. So let's see what's going on here. I think Ryan is now contemplating actually purging virus counters, but he has the Cyberdex trials. He can do it that way. Generally, I think once you, so he is going to purge. He's going to do Cyberdex trials. That's bad for me. I am worried about that quite a lot. I do not want to run into an archer now. That will make me very, very sad. So let's see. First is Order of Saul, and I have 6 credits and a bad pub. I'm going to special order for my Yogg. Yeah, I believe it's my Yogg. I can use it Knight, but Knight on Hadrian's Wall doesn't really work, so I might as well just go get my Code Gatebreaker. Now this is effectively nullifying that remote. The ice, the first piece of ice, can no longer be just named as a code gate, and that's a big deal. So I think this is exactly what this runner wants. This runner wants to put a lot of pressure on the centrals and allow and make it difficult for the Corp to set up an effective remote scoring server. So I passed my turn, had 0 credits at the end of my turn because I had exactly 5 when I played Yogg. That means that Order of Saul triggers on his turn, so I had to start with 1 credit, which is great. One of the things that I've noticed with Anarchs is a lot of the cards they really want to play, like whether it is Armitage Code Busting, or even Special Order, or Data Sucker, something like that, all cost 1. There's a lot of 1 costs in Anarch. There's a lot of higher costs for the breakers, but for some of their more supporting cards, they're lower. And starting with 1 credit on your turn effectively means it's a free card. You start with 1 credit, play it for free. You don't have to click up. It saves you a click. And so it's great. It's really, really effective. Alright, so Ryan is going to, he installs a couple ice over that remote, gets rid of the useless ice, and I'm going to go right into HQ. He doesn't res the first piece of ice. I pay through the shadow, and I see a commercialization. And commercialization is a great way for Ryan to get back out of this hole so that he can find that scoring window he really needs, res some bigger ice. Alright, I go back in, pay for it, and oh, there we go. I sniped the government contracts, the 1 agenda in his hand. Oh man, that is a tough one. After that long struggle to finally get that remote set up, I think he was ready to go for it too. It's just just a bit brutal to see it sniped out of your hand, but that is how the game is played. Yeah, so I'm just revealing some of the ice, just seeing where everything is. It's good for you guys to see it. There's the archer over archives. He was thinking I was just going to go right back into archives, which is what anarchs and criminals tend to do. Just go right back in and try to get some sucker tokens back in, but not this time. Anyway, that's all for me right now. I'll see you next time.